So I've just been listening and I can't help but to keep hearing we need help with resources or funding, etc. And I just want to plug this in for anyone that wants to move forward, that's for people that don't recognize free, I hate to say labor, but in universities, there are courses, they're called grant writing courses, and students such as myself when I was in graduate school, we were asked or required to go out into the community and find organizations that may need funding. And then we were guided to write a grant just for that organization. And I, with that assistant with somebody that actually has done quite a bit in that area, I was able to create funding for an organization that needed that help. But I'm just plugging into user universities around you to see those grant writing courses and getting just students who can do it for you for free, and then they get an A for their class, and then it's Abby. Just
Part of part of the role that we play, that can be played too, is that we connect you with people like you who are doing the same thing around the country, so that you all can meet and share one another, because you're bringing some approaches to reaching young people that they can learn from you, and you can learn from them. Like with the Alliance of Concerned Men, I told you about, we went into that gang area. They came to me where there were 5 people, ex-offenders, Christ-centered, and had the trust of kids on the street and officials. And I said to you, but your influence, you can't measure the impact of it. It's all over. So why don't you concentrate it in one neighborhood? And they said, well, what neighborhood should it be? Then a 12-year-old boy in Darrell Hall was killed in this gang fight. And I said, God has made the choice for you. Go in there and bring those leaders to my office. They went and brought 16 of them. I'm running through this. And these kids, we brought them together for mediation. And they said, no one ever asked us to be peaceful. What they meant, no one that they trusted. And so when the kids came in, and they came because they have people like you who have their trust. You have more, and therefore that's moral authority. And so as a result of us bringing them in, these young men not only stopped killing one another, but they became big brothers to the kids. So they set up football teams, 6 of them, and 125 kids who used to look at them as predators and now look at them as heroes. And so they are surrogate fathers. So the coaches said, we got funding for 3 teams. In a neighborhood where people used to run from everybody, now they're all on the field because and so the coaches said, the kids behaved themselves when they were with us, but not with their mothers or with their teachers. So the coaches told the kids, in order for you to practice, you gotta have behavioral cards signed by your mother and your teacher every Friday, or you can't play or participate. And the coach and the mothers and the teachers said the only control they have over the kids is these behavioral cards. So what they are doing is asserting parental authority over kids. And they have been doing this now for 20 years. But these kids can only be redirected by people like you. They can't be directed by no social worker or anyone else. They can only be redirected by people that have their trust and moral authority. And so part of what we are trying to do is to identify funders and others to recognize the important role of grassroots groups like yourselves, that only you can do what you do. The answer to violence and this is right in the place where the problem exists. And it's not going to come from outside. And so but again, I want to get back to the reason that we're here, is that we need to, first of all, as Will pointed out, that we need to identify what you've done. And it needs to be documented in a way through video, through reporting, so that we can make a case for why funding should be shifted to you and not some of the people where it's going on. So,
Yeah, so Mr. Woodson, I just wanted to thank you for making the time. I think this is your 4th or 5th trip here. You know, at 6, you become an honorary resident of the state of Utah, so we're hoping that we get one more visit. But I just wanted to say, this past legislative session, our legislators, and actually they're here, they passed something called HB 215. And Candace Perucci, she chairs the Education Committee in the House. I believe Katie Hall sits on that committee, Judy Weeks-Rohner. But this legislation provides an $8,000 scholarship to students to attend the school of their choice. And when I went to my district and was talking to families and students about this scholarship, what I noticed was that the people that know about it aren't the people that need it the most. And I reached out to Black churches in my community, and none of them were calling me back, with the exception of Pastor Tim. And then I met Marcus, and Marcus said, you know, Joe, I can help you with that. And I think it was a Saturday or a Friday, I thought we were speaking to one church, and Marcus had arranged for 30 Black pastors between Ogden and Salt Lake to be present to hear about this opportunity. And so you talked about trust, and I just wanted to say that you're 100% right. It didn't matter that I was talking about scholarships, it didn't matter I was talking about opportunity. I could not make the headway that Marcus was able to make. And so I just wanted, that trust goes both ways. And these religious leaders, they had one question, which was, why don't we know about this? Like, why, and Mark said, this is incorrect, you correct me, but they were saying, how can this be out there, this opportunity, where, you know, it's based on need first. So before it opens up to anyone else, the students and the families that are economically hurting the most get priority. But if they don't apply, they'll miss out. So I just wanted to reiterate what you said, which was that trust bridge, absolutely without it, I couldn't have gotten into those churches. And you know, one thing I want to talk to Will about is empowering an organization we have here in Utah to make sure that we can get this message out to as many people as possible. But thank you.
Yeah, you make a great point, because you see, the qualities that make organizations here effective also makes them invisible. Because you all are not whining and complaining, you're just busy doing the work. And people who care need to be intentional about reaching out to you and recognizing that. But I'd like to hear more from you about challenges you face and opportunities that are missed, maybe. What needs do you have? I'd like to hear from you all.
Sorry. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering, sorry. I'm wondering if you can help with the trust issue. So, I feel like I've gotten to know you somewhat and several of the people in the room, but generally I'm looked at as, and I'm just gonna be blunt here, I'm considered an Uncle Tom. I'm considered a race, I'm supposedly ashamed of my race. That's the general people, as you said, the people who are generally funded, that's the message they've put out about me. It's not accurate. I'm just pro-human. I have no shame for the fact that I'm biracial. I just look at people and I think if a person's hurting, I want to help the person. But that's the way that I'm painted. And it doesn't matter that I have a certain skill set that I can get people, like I said, very excited about reading and mentoring, and that I came from the foster system. None of this stuff matters because those people are the voices that are being listened to. So this has been my biggest problem, because I will share something, even if it's inspiring, and immediately people on the other side of the grifters, I'm just being honest, the grifters will immediately say, you know, she hates being Black, she hates this. I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to get in front of the people and to show them, no, I actually just love people as the individual. I actually just want to help. I mean, they will say, oh, they only want people of good character. I literally grew up learning how to play cards in prison because that's where I come from. I come from a mother and a father or a stepfather who was incarcerated. I come from multiple years in the foster system. Things that could actually help and lift people up if they would even just hear the story, but they won't because I've been blacklisted. And I don't know if you can help with that.
Well, let me just say that it's not important what people call you, it's what you respond to that counts. And I remember being on a program before like 4,000 Black journalists. The head of the NAACP, Ben Chambers, was sitting next to me, and he said, Bob Woodson here is an intellectual prostitute. Well, my response was to smile when someone attacked me. And then I turned to him and I said, you know what, I grew up to believe that if someone's sniffing at your butt, it means you're running in front of them. And everybody in the whole auditorium blew up and laughed. So I said, I was invited here to speak to the issues. I'm going to speak to, if you want to talk about me, you're welcome to do that all day. Okay, Lord stepped in. The next day he was arrested for stealing money from the NAACP. Wow. I didn't think the Lord was going to smile that fast. He also had an affair with someone in the organization, and she ended up suing him for the organization for millions of dollars. I tell you, just leave alone, man. So my advice to you is surround yourself with people who love you to deal with those who don't love you. That's all, you know. And don't worry about that. It's like I tell brothers who said, well, I got into a fight because someone disrespected me. I said, how did they disrespect me? Well, they said this about me. I said, is it true? He said, no. Then why are you mad? Why are you mad?
It's the fact that they can stop the word from being that becomes the problem. That's what I'm trying to
They
do.
can't stop it, Karen. Look right here, you have a.
Well, but you need to, you know, I mean, look, I don't get called those names because of the people that I surround myself with, and the people that I represent, and they cover me. So I just think that we need to two things that I'm trying to emphasize today. And I hope that the second part of this, after lunch, that I really want to drill down and get on the record the specifics of barriers that you're facing. Yes, you are. Yes, sir. Let me hear from you.
Yeah, my name is AJ.
Hold it, microphone. Hold it.
Stand up, bro. My name is AJ. I'm a musical artist. I'm a rapper. I go by MBS Power. I'm the owner of Fam Enterprises. So some of the struggles I faced, I've been going to school over the last year. Started with business, switched to my major over to music. It's trying to get funding, right, to get the label off the ground. And so my idea for my company, it would have been very easy just to remain an independent artist and just worry about myself, focus on myself, invest all my money into myself and just, you know what I mean? But my vision, because of the way that I grew up, was to create something bigger than me. Because what I noticed with music is that once you start doing it, it pulls people in. Anything creative, passionate, right? It pulls people in. And when you pull people in, you're starting to give them an outlet, something that's greater than what they were doing, something better than the streets. I came from prison. I spent 11 years in prison. Something better than selling drugs, something better than thugging, something better than hanging out with the homies, chasing women. You offer them something better that they believe in. And once it's there in the community, it becomes real. So that's where they begin to invest their time. That's where they begin to invest their energies. And then when you're around like-minded people, what you rub shoulders with rubs off on you, right? So I wanted to create something bigger than me that I could give back to my community. And essentially, I wanted to be the change in the world that I wish I had when I was a kid. Music, all this stuff's been in me since I was a child. It's been my passion for as long as I can remember. I've never had an outlet. I've never had someone that would grab me and take me somewhere where I can actually express myself and be free and be creative in a way that's positive and constructive. And so my mission for my record label is to be that, to create that change. So to have a place where I can take all these kids that worship these rap stars just like I did when I was a kid. Hope is still, to this day, that's my guy, right? Where I can take these kids in and they can begin to emulate that and they can be creative and they can be positive and they can be productive and it gets them off the streets, it gets them away from the negative influences, start to teach them sound business practices, business fundamentals, marketing, promotion, right? And so start teaching them how to use these social media outlets constructively rather than just chasing women or doing random nonsense, right? Starting to teach them how to use these tools, as actual resources to kind of better their future, right? So this is my mission, right? It's family, F-A-M-M, it's the family, we family. And family is anybody that holds space in your heart. And so the biggest issue I run into is finding money and finding resources, right? And I like what you said when you were saying that the people that are willing to help, they need to be more active in reaching out. Because the barriers that I run into, especially being black, especially being from prison, and especially being a rapper, is, well, we just don't think that's a sound business. Well, we just don't think that's a sound idea. Well, we just don't think, and I'm like, fam, music has saved more lives than can possibly be counted. You know what I'm saying? And these are, whether people like it or not, it's a different generation. These are heroes. These are people that can impact change, that can create a better world, that can help. You know what I'm saying? And so, being looked down upon or kind of, you know what I'm saying, being stereotyped is just like, oh, you're just a rapper, this isn't a real thing. This is a very real thing. This is culture. You know what I'm saying? This is a way of life for a lot of us people. And so the biggest struggle I ran into was one, acceptance, people being open-minded, and then two, people willing to help, that really genuinely care, actually want to take the time to listen. So that's some of the stuff that I face and struggle with.
That's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of barriers, because what you therefore need is a validator.
Yeah.
Somebody who takes the time to listen and distinguish between what you're doing and what others are doing. And then open the doors to, that's what we hope to establish here. Some place in Utah, maybe a facility where the pharaohs of this world can be educated about the Josephs of this world like you. So that they will, so what you need is an opportunity to present to people who are open-minded and understand the larger mission of what you're trying to accomplish. That's something that we hope to recruit pharaohs to better understand. Now, we've done this, for instance, in Louisiana with a guy named Ron Anderson. We have a videotape on our website. Ron was operating out of his home, like what you're talking about, and we started working with Ron, and we recruited a pharaoh in his city, and this pharaoh had an unused 5,000 square foot building that he then deeded to Ron and his organization. Now Ron's able to move out of his house into this facility. So these are the kind of possibilities that can come when you get people, and that's what I'm trying to recruit on our side from the business and religious community, people who can become validators, who take the time and learn and listen to the valuable work that you all are doing and get to know you. So that, and then, but then part of it is making you organizationally sound, because some of these people can supply lawyers and accountants to work with you to make you fundable.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, you need enabling help. Well, that's why Jamie and I are talking about having, I want to gather some of these needs from you so we can put this into a proposal. Yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing.
Just one.
Well, let me stand up. Salute you, brother. Real talk. Salute you too. Most of us, it looks like, is coming from the north. You out, Salt Lake, I'm here too, but I'm from the north. I understand, and I just want to say that I am willing to always put my head together with the people in the room that I trust. These people, a lot of them even carry what you're reading and even what it sounds like we have our kind in the room that is trying to meet the goal. What is that? That is to help our children, correct? So that means that everybody in this room can mechanically work. We have an educator back here, violinist. She can get that violin. And so she can teach that too. So there's also musical talent in here that we can see. And so I'm just here to say in my last and spiritual value and wise man that I'm willing to work with, because these are the people I trust. Everybody in this room I've known Murray probably 20 plus years. And what he speaks is our suppressions of the North. I understand his frustration because this is what we went through living in Ogden City, that we're from Ogden City. That spirals most of us here, stretching back. So I'm just saying that from this point forward, I would love to work with anyone in the room that we can come together and make something wonderful happen for Utah being grassroots.
You know, this is exactly what I hope we would get to, because I think you all represent the best. We need a model to save this country because we're in trouble. We are really in trouble, but there are people who want to divide us. Because they're like the people who want to protest against the insurance company and protest against the bank. They make money being in opposition to things, but you don't build anything tearing it down. You don't build anything tearing it down. And so what we're looking for, we've got to have concrete examples of, and we need to be very specific about what your needs are, so that we can write all these down as examples and then put them into a form so we can put together an organization. What would happen if we have in one city a place like a business incubator facilities, a place where the groups can come and get all their back office needs met. If you're out there serving kids, you don't have to be a bookkeeper or an administrator, because you can hire people to do that. So that you can be free to do the work that you do on the street. But a lot of groups don't understand the need for that. And so that's why we're placing such emphasis on things, small things. If you, just again, I want to say this again. If you take care of the messes, you don't have tragedies. You take care of the messes, you don't have tragedies. I gotta be at a very important appointment in the morning, and I know I'm low on gas the night before. Oh, I can do that on my way. I wake up late. Question, do I have enough gas to get me to my appointment? You know, that's an example of taking care of the messes and you don't have tragedies. So I'm burning to the appointment, and that little narrow thing is on empty. That's an example. It's a silly example, but it's typical of what we do. And a lot of times, if you're a visionary and are motivated to kind of, with the passion that you have, passion can't overrule common sense. That all of us are challenged, not in our weaknesses, but we're challenged in our strengths. The things that we do best, because we have to be careful of them. Let me give you just little examples. There was a woman with a PhD in botany. She was camping in Maine with her husband, and she saw these wild mushrooms, and she gave it some fancy name. And she started cooking them. Her husband said, "No, I ain't eating that because I don't know what it looks like. It looks strange to me." She said, "Oh no, this is a so-and-so Katara, so-and-so." She fixed it. She died within 4 days of kidney failure. Because her PhD in botany misled her to believe that she knew more about what this was. than her husband, who was ignorant of it. Sonny Bono was who died in a ski accident, was a superb skier. But he thought because he was such a superb skier, he could come down a mountain that they had warning signs, don't ski on this mountain. But he said, oh, I know my stuff. And so be very careful in the things that you're strongest in. And that's why a humble spirit needs to accompany your passion. A humble spirit should always accompany that, because your passion for something can get you in trouble. It's disciplined passion. So part of what we're going to have lunch soon.
Divorce has a comment.
Hmm?
It's divorce.
Yeah, someone else back here.
Oh, she has.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hello to everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to come before you. I'm a very quiet woman because I move by the Spirit of God, and so I'm very observant, and I pay attention and listen very closely to a lot of things that are going on. My passion is our children. When you said yesterday you live for the people, you live for us. I live for us, but mainly I live for our children. I'm very, very passionate about what's going on with our children in the state. I moved from Washington, D.C. area, the DMV, a few years ago, and I lived there over 30 years. And I'm a native of Ogden, so I can relate to Murray. I relate to my son's story. Being a native of Ogden was a little difficult being Black growing up. We came here in the early 60s, and we have always been suppressed to a certain extent. We had to live in a certain area, all of us. And with that being said, a lot wasn't poured into us. And I, as a young girl coming here, I paid very close attention to everything, and I knew I was more than where I was at. It was in me, and I knew there was more in me. And so I moved away, and my story is, living in the DC area, I was exposed to the most powerful and intellectual people who helped me grow as a person, as a Black woman. We don't have very many Black people in this state, and it's very important to our children to see all different types of cultures, because we all are integrating with one another, they're marrying one another, but our children in Ogden, where I am, have very low self-esteem. I moved back here to serve our children. I started as a substitute teacher. I did that for 2 years. Very depressed children. And so I said, oh my God, something's going on. And so when I stopped doing that, then I decided that I would join the NAACP, because that's a Black organization. Well, it was founded by whites, but it's an organization, very powerful organization. I said, I need to get involved and see what's going on. And they had a position for kids, youth council. And so when I did that, there was nothing being done with it. And I was told to do what I wanted to do, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know about the NAACP. I didn't know, but I wasn't being taught more about it. So I tried to reach out to Baltimore. What can I do to empower myself with learning more about the organization? So then I went to the high school, because the principal Paul reached out and wanted our children, the Black children, to be a part of NAACP by getting a membership. This might be a little lengthy, but I want you to listen to what I'm saying. So this man wanted his kids to have a Black student union, a place where they can go so they can talk about issues that they have, so they can share different opportunities and grow within themselves, so they can have confidence in themselves of who they are as Black children. Okay, so we tried that. I went down, and the president sent me over to Paul to pick up money for memberships for our children. So it was 14 kids wanting the BSU, and 4 adults wanting a membership as well. Ran up there to get that check representing the NAACP. Ran up there, they never got their membership. For 6 months, they didn't get a membership. The kids didn't get the magazine to go with the membership, so they were let down. Our kids were let down because nobody got involved. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I just went up there to get that check. So anyway, I let that go, and then so I said, there's a need in this school, and I want to be a part of the BSU. The principal needed a leader. The teacher was white. He didn't know much about the black culture, so I said, I'm going to dive in and help these kids. So the first thing we wanted to do was take our children on a historic black college tour, because the scores for our children here in this state are very low. They're below average, especially the black children. Our black children are suffering the most because there's no role models for them. That's why I got involved in the NAACP. No role models for our children in our community. Okay, so the principal said, unfortunately, Dolores, you cannot be a part of an organization like NAACP and be in the classroom with our kids. You can't do that. I had to resign, and I'm glad I did resign. Why? Because there was nothing feeding me as well. So I resigned from the NAACP, but they didn't want to let me go. They wanted to keep me on the roll because they wanted to take credit for what I was trying to do for my children. Okay, so when the mission was the principal said, we want to go on a historic black college tour. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. So 2021 to 22 school year, we tried to raise money for our kids to go to the Historic Black College Tour. Well, we failed. We didn't get the support that we needed. I tried to do everything I can to promote our kids to go on this important black college tour, because our kids needed to see children that look like them, that are interested in going to college, doing something in their communities. And I wanted them to go. The unique thing about the Black Student Union in Ogden is that we have black, white, Hispanic, and multiracial children in the Black Student Union. Why? Is because our children love one another. They are coming together and they love one another. And so this is what meant the most to me, that I wasn't doing something was just for black kids, but for all our kids who love each other. People are trying to divide our children with racism, with all these different things that are going on with our kids. They're trying to divide our children. And so our children are together, trying to learn more about each other's culture. But the black culture is missing because there's not enough of us to be seen anywhere, that's positive anywhere. And so where are they going to get it from? Well, they get some from me, a black woman in front of them, encouraging them like an auntie and a mother and a grandmother, to encourage and empower their children, letting them know how much I care about them and how much I love them. And so when we couldn't go the first year, NAACP, $100 from the president, but the other members, the organization didn't contribute to the kids to go. And so that was very hurtful that we didn't get any support. The public, they gave some, the foundation, Education Foundation, they gave us some money, but we didn't get enough money. The prices skyrocketed on the tickets, we just couldn't go. So when 22, 23 came, who we rubbed shoulders with, we got together. Joseph Carey said, when I met him, he said, how much, we let our kids down. And I told him how much we needed. He said, Jamie, what are we gonna do about this? Jamie, this is embarrassing, we let our kids down. Jamie's like, I don't know, we gotta do something. So I just raised my game. I worked harder and harder, and I promoted us more and more and more. We had a new set of kids this time. But the class that didn't go, 5 of them went on to two went to a historically black college, and the other 3, they went to colleges and universities in another state. One in Utah, and the other ones went another place. So that was a success story with that. But when this time came around, 2023, this year, April, we raised money, the parents got together, cooked the food, we sold dinners, we did everything we could do to get these kids to go to DC. And the night of the fundraiser, I knew how much money we needed to raise. Ron got involved, city officials got involved, we had so many people there. We raised so much money that night. The kids got up and talked about why it's important to have a black student unit, what it meant to them. all these different races of children just talking about being a part of something, belonging and learning together. And so we raised so much money that night. And I stood up and told the people, some of the members of the NAACP were there, and some of the haters, I called them, that were there. I said, we will be going to Washington, D.C. on April the 19th. And some pulled me to the side and said, you already are going? I said, yeah, we're going. Because they wanted us to fail again. There were so many people that did not want us to go. And you know why? Because I am a grassroots leader. I don't have any titles. My title is a woman of God, and I love our children. And I was determined that we were going to go, so I called it out. We got that money. That money we raised that night was what helped us go to get there, and we went, and we had a wonderful trip. We toured 4 Black historical colleges. The kids, it was enlightening for them to see this, people that look like them, and because college is not important to our kids in Ogden. It doesn't seem very, it's not strong. $40 million was left on the table from FAFSA that kids did not apply to go to college. That was very disappointing to hear. So something is happening in our schools that our kids are not motivated to go to college, but they don't just have to go to college, but go to a trade school, do something, but they're not inspired. They are so down, something is keeping them down. And what I need help with is more mentors, not role models, but mentors that mentor our children in our communities. We don't need role models. We need mentors, somebody that really, people that really care about the lives of our children in Utah. Families are coming here with their kids and they're getting jobs, education. They're taking things that our kids are not getting. Our kids are being held down and suppressed to get manufacturing jobs or jobs that aren't going to support their families. It's a generational curse that we have in our city of Ogden that is suppressing our children. The children that I work with are definitely remnants of what happened to me when I was a young girl moving here. These are the grandchildren, so I look at them and I say, I know where you come from. Because it's this brokenness of people not coming, stepping up and supporting our children. We're grouped off by churches and organizations, and all these different things are separating us instead of bringing us all together as one. And so this is the problem. I need to get help for funding so that I don't have to work as hard as I did to get money to get these kids. Not just Ben Lomond High School, but I would like every kid in high school to have an opportunity to get outside of Utah and see more so they can be more, because they'll be inspired by other children. But Salt Lake is doing a lot more than the Ogden children, but they're divided. They're not together. We don't come together. So it's like Ogden and Salt Lake. Salt Lake has a lot of BSUs in the high schools. And I don't know what they're doing, but it seems like they get together often and they're doing things. But in Ogden, we are the first. Ogden High is trying to work on one, but we need an opportunity for our kids to be able to travel outside of Utah and money to do different things culturally with one another so that we can grow and they can have the opportunity to be empowered like other children in other states. They can't even, listen, I'm telling you, they can't even, if they were to leave here and go to another city or state, they wouldn't make it because the education is so low. And they won't make it. 2.5 is considered lovely at Ben Lomond High School. And I'm like, wow, okay. 2.5? And they don't want to raise that, they don't push them to do more. Oh, they come from, all these little stories. They're victimized. Oh, they can't. Our kids are so intelligent. They are so smart, but they need more people to get involved and inspire them, to let them know how smart and how beautiful they are. And I'm that, starting with me. I looked in the mirror and I said, it starts with me. And that's what I do every day. And not only with the children, but in my community. I am an ally for Circles USA because parents in poverty, generational curses of poverty. I'm an ally for there. I'm on the board of United Way, Northern Utah, I'm on the board there. So I'm very busy in our community trying to figure this thing out, but I just need help. People that want to stand with me and by me, and let's get these, help our children. It's to old folks, we get set in our ways, but it's our babies that are being targeted. The devil wants to take our children, and we need help to protect our children and get our children up to par, so they can compete with other children all over the United States.
Thank you, dude.
Sorry. Oh, no, no.
We have questions in the back, microphone. I'd love to connect you, as I told you, with one of our programs in Harlem, where a woman with your passion took kids to Ghana, who were the sons and daughters of people in prison. And they took the kids to Ghana. They take them to international trips. And they were playing basketball with the Ghanaian kids and found out the Ghanaian kids had holes in their sneaks. So they took off all their sneaks and gave them to the Ghanaian kids. And it just was a knockout for our kids to be in a position to understand, and even though they're in need, that they need to learn to give to others. And so we did a nice video I'd love to share with you and have you talk with her, because we need to expand the horizons of our kids by taking them out of their own cities. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for
We're gonna have lunch right after this. We're gonna break and have lunch, and then we'll finish, okay?
I'm Scott Clark. I'm just representing Bishop Bobby Allen, Church of God in Christ. He wasn't able to make it. He's in Hawaii with his wife vacationing, and so gave me a text and said, yeah, so try to make it. I would have to say, as Ms. Green was saying, excellent information that what we need. I would also say one of the things that we need in our communities, from Salt Lake to Ogden to wherever Black children are and Black adults, is this: 1 + 1 = 2. And that's whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Indian. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. And so I say this is because we need financial literacy. That's going to override everything, because different things happen, and like I say, we're here now and getting some good information. Just like I was thinking about the George Floyd situation, how everything went good, but you don't hear too much about that movement as much anymore. Some things happen and it's just a period of time and then it dies. What we need here in Utah for the Black community, one of the other things, is access to financial literacy. Like this a gentleman was talking about with his business. For him to have access, what are the tax advantages for him where he can have access to everything that he does is a write-off because he's a business owner. We need in here in Utah is a place where, and I think you had mentioned that, a nucleus that we can have access to. And not just for us, not just run just by Black Americans, but we need, this is where the public officials will come in. You guys will come in. Things that you hear on the floor, things that come in your inbox, okay, and say, hey, this might be good to my constituents, not just the Caucasian ones or the ones that's supporting you, but to have access and names to, and you can start with a lot of the Black churches and Black organizations, and when you hear that information, send that out to them, and then also, as you mentioned, a nucleus. It could be a center, it could be whatever that is run, where that information can go out, and then we have access. Because a lot of times we're not going to come up here to the, especially Black men, we're not going to come up here to the different Congress things. Because, yes, not that we don't want to, because we're working. Then there's a lot of them that are single mothers. They can't get this access. They want this access, or even community leaders. They're working, and so we don't have that access. So if it can go to a nucleus, if we can help us with some kind of a nucleus, that would be a big help. And then it goes to that, and then that can go out to the different organizations, and then we can tap into that organization. That would be so good. But the main thing that I really kind of got up here to say is anything that's financial literacy, because that's going to override everything in the end. Our families, blacks, and our children and adults that are in college, they need to learn about life insurance.
Yes, sir.
Life insurance is it could be something that can go on and on. Look at the Rockefellers. This is why they're on and on, because of life insurance. We don't know about that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things is that I think would be real important. Like I said, I agree with you, sir, is that having that nucleus, if we can come out of this with something like that, where we can have access when we leave here and not just go our separate ways, but we have access to a nucleus or a sender or an email, a website, a podcast, whatever. That's a step, and then that can take us to the next direction. And so this is where we need the Congress and the representatives' help to help us and join in with us so we can have access to you in that area as well.
But that's a good note to end on, because that's exactly why we bring this meeting together, to come out with it with a proposal that would establish such a center where people like you can come together maybe once a month and share with one another, but it's also a place where you can come and get your back office stuff done. So rather than you have to worry about your taxes or worrying about events or accountants, that corporations and businesses could even send their volunteers, lawyers and others, to a place where they can provide help so you can manage well. We even have a situation, as I told you, about the young man who was doing some great things, but he couldn't write the proposal. You know, nothing leaves my computer to go to anybody without my assistance, because I'm a bad speller. You don't even recognize the word when I'm finished. From my office, and I'm married to a woman who's a good speller too, so I send everything past Hattie before it goes. You don't get anything directly from me. Hattie has written most of it. But it's recognizing your weaknesses, you know, and yield and let people help you with that. Well, but we hope to have a model, and I'd like to see Utah be the first model of that, where we bring together wealthy people who want to contribute, but they don't know how to distinguish between you and hustlers. So part of what you're doing here, Jamie, is validating people, because the only people who would be a part of this were people who are value aligned. But also it means it provides a way for you to screen and also to go out and recruit people who want to make a difference but don't know how to decide who is legitimate and who isn't. And so that's what we have in mind. Jamie, we're going to
I think we're going to break for lunch. Can you
Go
wait
ahead.
till after lunch, Lucy? Sure. Okay. So first I want to thank Representative Judy Runner Weeks, and also Representative Katie Hall, and Carrie and Lisby was also here for taking the time, and Joe Carey, our state school board. Even though this is not political, all things involve some degree of politics. You have to know who to contact, and that's one of Path Forward Utah's. We try to connect the leaders to the people, and so they can make the changes that may be necessary. And soon, during lunch, Congressman Burgess Owens will be joining us, and so very grateful for him taking this opportunity and time out of his schedule to be part of this as well. I've asked Pastor, my brain's going on me, Ron Williams, to say a blessing on the food. Did you want to say anything else before we have this blessing and get going?
No, let's just move on to
I would also just, she didn't leave. I was just mentioning that you came. Try to get to know each other if you don't know one another during lunch. Sit by somebody you don't know and connect with them.
But before we end, everybody here is gonna have to say something. That's your price for coming here and eating lunch. Okay, because we really want to hear from everybody, in terms of this. Because I think we really want to come our way with something and not just have another conference. Okay, but we're recording this so we can write things down. When we're defining what this facility would look like, we can say why it exists, what kind of needs will be met there. And this is the testimony of people who will be the recipient of it. And again, my goal on a national level is to say to corporations and to foundations, stop funding people who are cussing this country out and support people who are trying to restore and unify us. Because most of the grassroots people, we're not isolated. We don't hate this country. There's an old African proverb that when bull elephants fight, the grass always loses. Poor people are the losers when elites fight over stuff that you see on television. They get paid for fighting one another, and we're the ones who suffer the consequence of it. You defund the police. The people who are on television talking about that stuff live in secure buildings that are protected by police. And the people who suffer are the people in these communities, because it takes police 30 minutes to a 911 call because so many of them resign. Okay? So let me just stop and let's have lunch and we'll resume. Okay?